Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC. So before Jesus, 600 years before Jesus, in fact. And it lays the groundwork on what it means to live a reasonable life, what it means to live in accordance with nature. What it means to really just experience this life as you, without having to be under the cosh or under the manipulation or influence of other people. And that's why it's really important that we don't overesteem others. We don't, if someone is wealthy, we don't put them on a pedestal because they're wealthy. Just because they're wealthy doesn't mean they're good people. Doesn't mean they're people that we would like to be. Doesn't mean that they're people that we want to look up to. You can find all sorts of people in the world that are worthy of looking up to. But we shouldn't overesteem anybody. We should love everybody, and we should be able to accept everybody as they are and say, well, you're doing what you do, I'm doing what I do, and that's beautiful in and of itself. But we don't have to put anybody on a pedestal. We don't have to put anything on a pedestal, I was thinking about this, and I was looking for a verse that kind of spoke to that, rather than just kind of picking a number. Today's number is designed to be around this, which is not often the case. I like to pick a number and use it as an oracle, but it's nice sometimes to go in and search for something. And I've been thinking about this over-esteeming, because, and I've thought about this my whole life, because years ago, and I don't know if it was Confucius, if I was reading something from Confucius, or if I was reading something that was Buddhist, because it doesn't seem to be here in the Tao. But I do recall coming across a quote, or coming across a parable of some sort or whatever, that said, don't ever get your picture taken with someone famous. And when I read that, I realized that that's how I live my life. Like I live my life not praising famous people, not really caring too much for famous people, not really overesteeming, people that had some sort of fame. And when I look at the world and I think about how things have advanced in the world and how politics and everything has advanced too. So everybody wants to be famous. Being an artist, I know about Andy Warhol, it's like everyone's going to get their 15 minutes of fame. And now it's like everyone wants to make sure that they get it. And when they get it, they want to be able to market it to get everything that they can out of it. While they're doing that, they're getting nothing out of their lives. It's like you've mislaid all of your energy. You've mislaid all of your attention. You're paying attention to someone else when you're the only thing that there is. You're the only thing worth paying attention to. And you paying attention to someone else can lead you to recognizing how little you're paying attention to yourself and pay attention to yourself a little more. And that can lead you to that. But, I look around and I see all of this overesteeming of people in power, overesteeming of people with money, overesteeming people that, got attention from people. Is this attention that we want to be giving people? Is our attention that, and that's the thing, that's become a commodity. Our attention has become a commodity, and people try and capture our attention because we're being manipulated to overesteem others in our periphery, others in our world. And so I'm going to read number 3 today, because this is just what's on my mind, this idea of over-esteeming people and letting them kind of dictate what's important to us. It's interesting when we all read an article, or when there's this famous person who has an idea of something that, why would they have, yes, everybody has an opinion, everybody has an idea, and that's wonderful. And I think that it's great when we can embrace our own opinion and say, yeah, this is what I think, and that's great. Wonderful. Famous people, for some reason, people that we over-esteem for some reason, have kind of carte blanche at telling us what they think. But famous people aren't necessarily more intelligent than we are. They don't know more than we do. They just have more attention than we do. And we could, if we over-esteem others, doubt ourselves, doubt what we think, simply because someone that's famous, that we over-esteem, has a different point of view. I remember one time when I was younger, I listened to a lot of Tom Waits. And I guess that might be obvious. And a friend of mine was like, oh, I eat this thing. Tom Waits likes those. I was like, why would I care? Why would I care if Tom Waits likes that thing? In my mind, I was just like, that has nothing to do with anything. I don't know that I overesteemed Tom Waits. But when he said that, I was like, what? Why would I care about that? Very often people, and this is what marketing is all about. You get all these celebrity athletes selling you Subway sandwiches. I really? Those athletes, there's no way those athletes are eating Subway sandwiches. And even if they were, Subway isn't the reason that they are who they are, or though they have achieved what they have achieved in the sport. But we can get so sidetracked as to, oh, they're a famous basketball player and they eat these sandwiches. Can you, I don't understand why I would want to eat a sandwich because somebody that plays basketball really well eats a sandwich. That's crazy to me. But that's marketing, and that's what our world does. It tries to manipulate us and tell us, look, if you do this, you'll be part of a different group. You'll be more. You can be proud of eating Subway because LeBron James eats Subway or whatever. I don't know who does, and that's the only name that came to mind. When I was a kid, I didn't wear, and I was in Chicago as a kid, Michael Jordan, Nike, right? Those are all in the 80s. That was all the thing. I didn't wear Nikes. I didn't even like Nikes. By the time I became a young teenager, I knew Nike used child labor. And so I didn't want to wear Nike. And yet everybody around me, right, especially in Chicago, because of Air Jordan and all that kind of stuff, overesteemed. I didn't watch a lot of basketball when I was a kid because around me everyone was overesteeming it. Now I'm a contrarian. Yes, I saw I was in the middle of it all, so you couldn't miss it. But it was a thing, being a contrarian. It was easy for me to not esteem others. And number 3 of the Tao is titled Inspiring Strong People. And that's the thing. When it says inspiring strong people, that's about how you inspire strong people. But if you go out of your way to try to inspire strong people, you're not going to inspire strong people. You're going to be manipulating people. So we inspire others by being who we are and doing what we do. I remember sometime not long ago, someone asked me, well, if this is happening to you, why don't you talk about it? I'm like, well, one, I do this show every day. So yes, I suppose I am talking about it. But I'm not one to preach, really. I know you guys may think differently because I'm here talking about all this stuff. But in my mind and how I see it, like, I'm not really telling people what to do or what to think or how to be. You're figuring that out, and I'm just doing what comes naturally to me. And hopefully, on the back end of all this, I am inspiring strong people. And what this says, what this number 3 says, and it's once again entitled Inspiring Strong People. Praising the status one can achieve will chastise those who don't achieve it. Praising a possession that can be owned will condemn those who don't own it. When nothing arouses competition, people will be at peace. The master leads by not defining status or possession. She weakens the ambition of those around her, which toughens their resolve to be as they are. By individuals releasing their ambition, everything falls into place. Truly, Julie is going to come up and join me. Hey, Julie, what's going on?
Oh, not a lot. It's peaceful here. It's peaceful. Number 3. What a lovely verse that is. What an absolutely lovely verse. And you can see, first of all, I want to address the fact about preaching. There's a real difference between preaching and sharing. There's a huge difference in it.
Yeah.
And I find that when you share this Tao, you inspire.
Oh.
But not from you. It's not a goal that you have. It's just a thing that happens within me. I start thinking, and kind of viewing things in a kind of different way than normal.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I am very present in whatever's going on. I've got plans to do stuff or plans not to do stuff in my case. And everything is gauged and measured, as you know. Mm-hmm. And it's a continual battle for me not to do that. Number 3 kind of tells you that. For me, it kind of says, stop, when you take away measurement, then there only is. And that includes goals, plans. It includes haves and have-nots. It includes it all. If you take away the measurement, it all exists anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of think about people who are in high esteem generally, famous people who've created maybe something, inventions, all of those kind of things. That's their task and their journey. They don't need me to praise them for that. It's already done.
And that's it's funny, if we take away all of the over-esteeming in the world and everybody is put on the same level, things would change quickly. Because then your neighbor is just as amazing as if you were sitting with Sean Connery. Yeah. You would just be in awe of the person you were in front of.
Absolutely.
And imagine every moment of your life being, there's an exercise out there, and I don't necessarily prescribe to this exercise, but it's like, go a week and and everybody you come in contact with, make them the most important person in the world.
Yeah.
You know, for that time. And that's all fine and good, you know.
Tiring.
But what's that?
Oh, that'd be tiring.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's tiring. But there's something to be learned in doing that, you know, like, and that is, but what I like is my approach of not caring, which is the exact same thing. Like if treating everybody as if it be the same because you don't care. You don't care to get anything. You don't care to manipulate anyone. You don't care to, like, that's going to give you some of the same experience. And we all need a different way of doing things. So that's two ways of approaching things. And, you know, like when we talk about the idea of, like, those who get on this path start to appear uncaring or disinterested, you know, it's because everything's stupid.
I love saying that. That's great.
But then everything is stupid because everything is beautifully in a state of awe and amazing. Exactly. And because everything is it, then it's all stupid.
So you might not care, but you can have interest. There's a difference. A curiosity, if you like. That's for me, a function. That is something that it drives me. It allows me to interact with everything around me. It's curiosity. Caring is something where there's an interest for yourself.
Yeah. You have some interest in the outcome.
Yes. Whereas curiosity means that you can observe, interact, and let it be as it is without any form of measurement.
Right.
It doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. None of those words exist. It just is. And that's, you know, including your neighbour. So when I go across to my neighbour, because I don't know who my neighbours are at the moment, and next month they'll be completely different people. But this is the thing that is exercised every day in my life. Every person I meet, I am in awe of. Yeah. I find them awesome. They're unique individuals crawling about on the planet, same as me, getting on with their day, and I find all of that interesting. I don't care, Martin John.
Right.
But I find it interesting. And so, you know, like I said, I'm doing what I do and I share like you do. I share, you know, whatever I'm up to, however I feel. There is no vested interest in that.
Right.
It just is something I like to do. It's a preference for me to share what I do because I enjoy that. I enjoy listening to the sound of my own voice, if I'm really honest. But I don't need anyone to praise me. I don't need anyone to berate me. I don't need anyone to point me in a direction. I don't need any of that because that's not really going to make any difference to how I'm experiencing life. But with interest, though, that does make a difference. That really does make a difference to how I'm interacting in the moment, in the day, in the week, in the month. It's absolutely fascinating, these people and experiences. I can't get enough of it, Martin John. I know one day it's all going to end.
You know, and even in all of this, you know, praising a status or praising a possession, and we're talking about overesteeming, and we shouldn't overesteem Tao either.
No,
it's our life. Like we shouldn't. There's no need to, because Tao doesn't care. Tao isn't here as a thing.
I don't wear it as a badge. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to go around telling everybody, I'm a Tao, I'm into Tao, you know, I study Taoism, because that becomes preaching, you see.
Right. And it's just like, no, this is just like, for me, the Tao Te Ching is just simply a book that has helped me be me. Because because just like this is saying, I'm not praising any status. I'm not praising any possession. Nothing is arousing competition. I'm not defining any of that stuff. And so my ambition to be something specific has been eroded. And that has toughened my resolve to just be me. And then just be like, okay, just go about your business. Just
do what
quietly,
you want to do.
Just do what you do, Just quietly go about your business. Quietly, get on with it, whatever it is. Fix your house, write your book, do this thing, whatever. And is the outcome what's so important? No, that's not what's important.
What about the experience of doing the thing?
It's just doing it. It's just living. What's the point of life? To live.
That's right.
So I do that.
I do that. People look at what I do and they go, oh my God, that woman's crazy. How can she do that? How can she just move from house to house and not know where she's going to be next week? I just do it. It just happens. Sometimes,
just get on with it.
Right? Yeah, sometimes it's crap. But oh well.
Yeah. But oh well. My guess is, like, if you know where you're living, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's crap. It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Exactly. So,
you want to pick a number, hon?
Yeah, we'll go for number 50 today.
50?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard that right. 50, we're moving on up. Awareness of death.
Oh, that's what's funny. I should say that sentence earlier then.
Awareness of death. Every being is entrusted with life for a time. However, it's only a prelude to death. Some live as optimists, embracing life. Others live as pessimists, embracing death. Some even live in preservation, passively living, advancing towards death. The master lives aware of her appointment with death. This brings her to knowing real life. She cannot be harmed by rhinoceros or man. Her movements flow from her being. She cannot be fooled by illusion or hallucination. Her actions flow from her being. She has freed herself of all separateness, even the distinction between life and death. This is when we're talking about like you moving around. It's all the same. Like you will have some crappy, and your crappy times aren't as predictable, let's say, as the crappy times of someone who lives in a house, whatever.
Yeah.
Lives in one place, has a job, right? Their crappy times may be the same all the time. Your crappy time is going to be different. And so you are more familiar with the uncomfortable unknown.
Yeah.
So you don't have this sort of living as an optimist, living as a pessimist, living in preservation. You're just living. You're not hell bent on living in a specific way.
No. I don't know what I'll be doing next week. It's great fun. Right.
This is what, when we say, like, you live with aware of your appointment with death.
Yeah, I know. I've got a ticket. You see, when I was born, right, I got a ticket for a journey, and sometimes you can get your ticket punched, so you know what stop you're getting off. I still got the ticket, but I'm aware that any minute it could get punched. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
I've used that analogy on people, who are quite kind of together, and they have a terminal kind of illness or, anything like that. It's a lovely lady. She's about 50 something. She's my age. She had oropharyngeal cancer. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in the bathroom and she's brushing her hair, putting her makeup on, cleaning her teeth. I'm just chatting away. And I said to her, you've got this ticket, you see, the same as me. We've got the same journey ticket. The only difference between me and you is, your ticket got punched today. So soon that your journey is going to be.
Yeah, you're going to be getting off soon.
Yeah, you're going to be getting off soon. And the great thing about that is you can prep yourself for it. You can kind of say, right, okay, this is it.
All
and
right.
I'm aware of that because I've got a ticket and I see you being punched.
I like that because it's like, okay, so you can visit the drinks car one last time. You can make one. You can get one more meal, or you can spend your time sitting at the door waiting for it to open.
Yeah.
Or you can use the bathroom, or you can talk to that person that you didn't talk to. You can prepare for getting off the line.
Yeah.
So not everybody has that opportunity. Sometimes you get kicked off because it's like, oh, this is your stop. Get up. But you didn't know because you were maybe you were napping and then, you passed your station and it's like, oh, well, this you got to get off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go. And so when you're aware that you're going to be getting off sometime, then you live your life like making sure that if you wanted to order the lamb, you order the lamb. Make sure you get that in. You don't put it on a list and say this is what I want to do before I go.
Like in before the stops. No, I've got a journey ticket. I've got no idea when the ticket's going to be punched. I'm going to kind of enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Enjoy it now. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I love you. Have a great day. David, thank you so much for hanging out, listening to me talk with Julie. How are you today?
I am doing well. And, something that Julie shared, towards the beginning of her share, resonated, spoke to me. And she said something about, the difference between, sharing and preaching, right?
Yeah.
Difference is within me, right? It's within the, and I thought, how true that is, right? Because, when you or when I are sharing, we're sharing with open hands and we're sharing, with no expectation of how that message is received or not received, right? So,
correct.
But within myself, if I am open to receiving what you are sharing, then it's more of a gift than it is a preaching, right? So if I'm closed off, and I can't receive, then it might come across to me in my perception as preaching, right? So I thought that was really beautiful, a great insight from Julie. So thank you, Julie, for sharing that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that it's I like to say often, and if you've heard me say this, it's what I say and what you hear have nothing to do with one another. Mm-hmm. I'm sharing. You're doing what you're doing. Whatever. Like I'm offering this up just because it's happening, and how you receive it is all totally up to you. And if I've hurt your feelings, if I am good with what I've said, my hurting your feelings, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Yeah. However, that's not my problem. Like what I said, I'm good with what I said. Now, do I have to look at what I said? Especially if I'm affected by hurting your feelings. If I hurt your feelings and I'm like, I don't like, and I don't feel good about that, then I have to go like, well, why is it? Why are their feelings so important to me? And all of these other sorts of things, right? Like I have to look at my trigger. Yeah. But my hurting your feelings, like you did a lot of that. You're the one that had the feelings that got hurt. Right. And if I was hurt in some way by hurting your feelings, well then those are my feelings being hurt, and that's something I need to look at. Right. It's such a beautiful thing.
Right. And that's the other thing that Julie shared, right? So, she shared about, I'm either curious or I'm caring, right? And And the difference there is that caring, I have something invested in it, right? So, and I'm thinking this whole thing in relationship to communications with my wife, right? So, I do care about whether I hurt my wife's feelings or not. But that's on me, right? And whether she hears what I'm saying and sharing, and receives it, or whether she hears it and is, hurt by it or whatever, then she has work that she needs to do based on what I said, right? So, I just think that it's so simple, right? And it's beautiful. And
it's
it makes
simple,
so much sense.
Yet mere intellect cannot grasp it. Right?
Exactly right. Yeah,
because it's also interwoven.
Yeah.
Like what you say gives her insight into herself. And her insight into herself, if that is, whether or not she wants to look at it, if she gets upset at you saying something, then, she is having an experience, and then you're invested in her getting upset. Well, now you're having an experience. And this is, they cannot exist separately, and yet they are each separate. Like you are having a subjective experience, she is having a subjective experience, and they have nothing to do with one another.
Yep. Exactly.
But they are so interwoven in the manifestation. Oh, beautiful. Yep. Do you have a number for me?
Julie said 50. I'm going to go 49.
49. Oh, see, this is beautiful because 49 is the illusion of separateness. There's an illusion that things are separate. That your wife is having, but there is no separation because your wife is part of you. You're experiencing your wife through your own experience, through your own body, through your own soul, right? So what this says is the master has freed herself from separateness. She opens herself to receive from all beings. When she encounters sincerity, she responds in kind. In the face of duplicity, her sincerity remains. When she encounters goodness, she responds in kind. In the face of evil, her goodness remains. Why should she change for the manifestation? She knows the manifestation is an illusion of separateness. Beyond that, there is only one. Wow, that was so beautiful, right? Yep. Especially when you're talking about your wife, because, when you get married, there's one now, right? Like there's this concept of oneness and this togetherness, but you're still two individuals having different experiences, having subjective experiences, and yet those subjective experiences are still unfolding into oneness.
Absolutely. Awesome.
So beautiful. Thank you for that really kind of hit the nail on the head for our conversation.
the symbiosis, right? Yeah. So that's really cool. So listen, I hope you have a great day. I'm gonna head out. And
sounds good. I'll send you the text from number 49, and then we'll connect again.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
You too. Melissa, how's it going? What a nice day. Melissa, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Martin, John. How are you, my
Good. I am doing great. This has been a really nice conversation this morning.
I can hear the happiness in your voice. I love it.
Yeah, life is easy.
When we let
How
it
are
be,
things
right?
on your end?
Oh, well, I got a big meeting tomorrow, and I've been working hard to get everything ready, and I'm hoping that they're going to receive what I've prepared to share. Not feeling great about it being recorded for BCPS TV or being observed and all of that stuff. But you know what? I'm just going to be me, Martin, John, and everything will fall into place the way it's supposed to.
It's going to be great. And you know, it's good that, you know, it's getting recorded and stuff, because that one, you should be. People should be learning from you anyway. So they should at least have the opportunity to receive what you have to offer.
Absolutely. So I am going to try to get all the little ducks in a row, check off all my little lists so that have everything that I need done. And I might stay at work until 8 o'clock tonight. Hopefully not, but, you know, if that's what I need to do, that's what I'll do.
You know, I've been, you know, when you started telling me about, you know, like this meeting that you have that's going to be recorded, all this stuff, I couldn't help but
stupid.
No, that's fine. I couldn't help but think about the experiences that you've had over the last month with all of the preparations that you've had to make, all of the preparations you've had to make for different meetings, for different, you know, things. And sometimes the meetings didn't happen, and sometimes they did, and sometimes things, you know, like, but, you know, I've witnessed in your life, the little that we talk, that you're sort of preparing. You've had experiences that would prepare you for this, for this, you know, being recorded, being watched, being observed. And I remember a number of months ago when you were like, "Oh, I'm going to be observed," and that used to like bring on a lot of anxiety. And
That's
now
true.
It doesn't seem to trip you up as much.
No, you're right, because I'm learning, I'm shifting, and I'm growing, and I'm learning that, you know, all that is just wasted energy. It's going to be what it's going to be no matter what. So why am I going to waste my energy getting all upset? I'm going to waste my energy doing what I need to do so I'm prepared. And being prepared is much better than being upset.
Right. And that's very librarian of you.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's, you know, so that's beautiful. Let's go ahead and pick a number and see where it takes us.
All right. How about 79?
Oh, going all the way to the end here. Conflict resolution.
Oh, wow. Conflict resolution, you say, my friend.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Every conflict creates an other. Even after resolution, animosity remains. Is that good enough for you? Therefore, the master always does her part, keeping the peace, not placing blame, correcting her own actions without requiring the same from others. The Tao doesn't care who's right. If you do, you'll find it difficult.
Wow. I like the part about correcting my own actions and not worrying about others, because that's kind of what we were just talking about, you know.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, worrying about what I need to worry about, and, you know, there might be some animosity, but that's on them if they have some animosity. I'm working on me, being the best me I can be, doing what I need to do. That's kind of what my takeaway was from that.
Yeah. If you engage conflict, you're in one way or another kind of looking down on the other person. You're creating them as an other. So every conflict creates an other. Now, if like the person that you know, like, is upset with you and all that you did, like, you're like, okay, I'm your other. You're pointing your finger at me. Now, you go ahead and correct your own actions. You do what's best for you to do. They're holding on to all of this animosity. They're holding on to it because I accept it. You want conflict, but I'm just going to go ahead and correct my action because I was wrong. And I recognize I was wrong. I'm not going to ditch dive with you and make you an other. I'm not going to engage the conflict. I'm going to engage what comes my way, and I'm going to take responsibility because I was wrong. You correct your own actions. And if you required that of them and they never did it, they never do it, then what you're doing is you're creating conflict. Because you're like, oh, you should do this too. You should look at yourself. You should. And then you're like, all you're doing is creating another. And then that's going to create animosity within your life. So that's not good enough. It's not good enough for us to create another. And that's what it says. Is even after resolution, animosity remains. Is that good enough for you? Is that the way you want to live your life? To create like a series of people that have like that you got animosity towards, that you have a bad taste in your mouth because they didn't do something that you decided was important to you to do? Yeah, it's good for you to correct your own actions. Whether they do or not, that's going to turn up somewhere else in their life. That's how this stuff gets balanced. If they're being an ass out in society, well, other people are going to be an ass to them too. But that's not your responsibility. You correct your own actions. If you're not happy with what you're doing or how you did something, correct it without requiring other people to correct their actions. You do the best. You beyond reproach, as my mom says. She's like, nope, I'm beyond reproach. I'm like, and I'm like, okay, Mom, because by her saying that, she's creating conflict. But I'm like, oh, okay, like, she's always like, man, she doesn't have to do that, but all right, Mom, chill out. But that's the thing. Therefore, the master always does her part, keeping the peace, not placing blame. You don't place blame. You look at what you've done. And you say, oh, okay. And just like when I was talking to David, I was talking about the idea that, hey, if you, and I think I was talking to Julie as well about this idea that if I say something and you get upset and I'm okay with what I said, okay, there's nothing to correct. But if I'm not okay with what I said and hurt your feelings and I'm triggered by that, there's something I have to do. I can't ignore that. But if I'm okay with what I said and I examine it and I look at it and I'm like, no, I endorse what I've done and I've endorsed what I've said, then there's nothing to correct. If you're not happy, you're not happy, and that's okay. So I correct my own actions without requiring the same from others. Tao doesn't care who's right.
Because it's all stupid.
Yeah, I know. Because it doesn't. You do. It doesn't matter if you're right. If you're okay with what you've done, there's no problem. But if there's a little something in there that says, "Hey, you could have done a little bit better here," or you don't really like that you did it this way, well, you correct your actions in the best way you can at this moment. And if you care about who's right and who's wrong and all of this stuff, all it says here is you'll find it difficult. It's not telling you how it's going to be difficult. It's not telling you like what. It's not telling you you're wrong. It's just saying like it's just going to be a little more difficult. It's going to be more difficult if you care about who's right. If you care about being right or being praised or being in this space where you're expecting other people to do heavy lifting that maybe you're not willing to do. And even if you are willing to do it, asking them to do it isn't your responsibility. That isn't where you want to necessarily be.
That was a good reading, yeah, because I have been holding on to some animosity, and I just need to let it go and just worry about me and not let that person take up space in my head,
Yeah. You correct your own actions. Letting them have space in your head might be an action that needs correcting.
That's exactly an action that needs correcting. Exactly
it's all iteration. It's all like little by little. Like you see it and then you correct it. You see it and then you correct it. And that gets you to a place where you have more resolve to be as you are.
I like what you were saying about don't worry about who's right and wrong. Right and wrong has always been like very important to me. You're either right or you're wrong, but it's stupid. Why waste?
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, I'm wasting energy on stupid stuff.
And the thing is
myself.
you are right for you, and they might be right for them. So the thing is you're never going to, like, even though they're wrong to you,
in their mind,
you're not the one living their life. So they're right for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like if you were to look at like the choices that you made a week ago versus the choices that you make today, a week ago, the right answer was different than it is today. You know, like
absolutely true.
So looking at that and creating conflict in that, equation, that all it does is creates another, and you look down on that person. And you say, your choices and your ideas of who you are wrong because of me. It's like, wait, but if I wasn't here, you wouldn't be wrong. So why am I going to create another in your world? And why am I going to create this animosity? Why am I going to create this conflict in my life?
Well, thank you. I needed to hear that, my dear.
Absolutely. I love Tao. It just gives us what we need when we need it.
I mean, I could have probably used it a week ago, but I might not have been ready to hear it then. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. It comes in when we need it, when we need it most. Like the answers are there.
Well, I'm very thankful because I love answers. I'm all about the answers.
Yeah, they're always presenting themselves. We're always, as long as we're open to receiving them. And that's a big part of it, being open to receiving the answer, because they're all around us all the time, and we just have to be able to process them, receive them, embrace them, and put them into practice.
Instead of driving to a whole nother state to get away from a situation, just let it be, right?
Well, I like a good drive.
I mean, it was, I didn't even have to drive. I was just the passenger, so that was even better.
No, life is easy.
Life is easy when you let it be, my dear. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to go check off all the things I got to get done, so tomorrow can just be what it is.
It'll be what it is either way, but I hope you get them all checked off and feel comfortable about it.
I hope so too. I love you, Martin John. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. It's a wonderful thing to look at in our lives, when we look at things like, she was like, I'm going to check this off so tomorrow can be good or whatever. It's like, we do want to do that because that's who we are. But it's going to be what it is. It's always going to be what it is. And if we don't do it, and it's horrible, if we don't do what we need to do, and it's horrible, it's all the same. Like, that's because we have it in our mind that, we didn't do this thing, right? And so that's the way it works. Oliver, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. Were you meaning to join me?
Yes, I'm just new into this app.
You need what now?
I'm new into this app.
You're new on the app. Okay. Well, this is Tao of the Day. And my guess is you haven't heard this before, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on what Tao of the Day is. Tao of the Day is a show where I talk about the Tao Te Ching. Have you heard about the Tao Te Ching?
No.
Okay, the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text. Okay, so it was written in the 6th century BC, and it is filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom and text all about how to live a more reasonable life. And so it has 81 chapters, and each chapter is less than 250 words. That's the longest chapter, I think. And if you've been listening at all, like, everyone has picked a number, and we have talked about how the text of that number relates to things that are going on in their lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense so much.
Okay. So what's going on in your life right now?
I would love to buy that book and read more.
All right. Well, if you're interested, you could check out the links in my profile, and you can buy a book from there. There are many different translations of the Tao Te Ching. I think my version really focuses on the experience of Tao rather than talking about Tao in and of itself. It talks about how one experiences Tao, and that's really what I've brought to the translation. And it also talks about, it's also very modern. It's very, very accessible, I think, for our time. But if you want, we can talk about what's going on in your life and pick a number, or I can go to the next person. You can listen and you can come back another day, and when you have a little bit better idea of what's going on.
I would talk about something.
Okay. Thank you for coming up, Oliver, and I look forward to speaking to you again. I'm going to bring JK. JK up. JK, morning walks. Cold where you are?
It is. It's very cold. Well,
Yeah.
all relative, right? My friend in Canada would say it feels like being in Bermuda here comparatively. So,
Well, you're not from Canada, so this is not your experience.
nope. I
The
did put on.
Bermuda Triangle, maybe.
That's me. Um, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Today's going really well. Chatting about all these beautiful verses, and everybody seems to be resonating with them, so that's always nice.
It is always nice. I was going to ask you, funny enough, I was going to ask you if you could read number one, but not your one, the Stephen Mitchell one that you read on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can read both of them, but
he doesn't title his,
no.
but his says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnamable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding.
So you go through that? Yeah, go through it for me, if you don't mind.
Oh, like line by line?
Yeah.
Sure thing. Okay, so the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. So if you can talk about it, that's not it. Like anything that I talk about, anything that I tell you about Tao, that's not it. That is it's kind of like
Words are particular.
Yeah, that's what I say. But it's kind of like, like we've seen artwork that they like that thing that this is not a painting, right? Or this is not like the urinal that is now a sculpture. And like they, like you do these things. So it's a stand-in. Like the word angry is a stand-in for what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. It's just a word that we all define differently. But when I say I'm angry, you will have a different idea than I do about what angry is, but we agree that it's in the ballpark of this idea. And that's sort of what Tao is. So if I tell you about what Tao is, that's not the eternal Tao. This is just an idea of what Tao is. Anything that we discuss on this show is just me telling you and pointing to pointing in the direction of what Tao actually is. But what Tao actually is can't be told. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. And, it's probably good to recognize, like, the name that can be named is not the eternal, is all like lowercase. And then the final name is capitalized. Again, that's the eternal name. That's like capitalizing God, right? Like,
Yeah.
so if you call something, if you call a squirrel, if you call me Martin, if you call, like, the wall a wall, all that thing, that's not really what is making it up. That's not really the source of it. You're just, once again, using a straw dog, using a stand-in word to understand something. This is like when everybody says, yeah, but we have to communicate. It's like, yeah, we do, but do we have to communicate using words?
Yeah.
And when we think about the particular, when we think about the manifestation, this is where we find ourselves. And so then it moves on to the next line. The unnamable is the eternally real. If you can't tell me why you're crying, then you're just really crying. Rather than making up a story as to why this is coming up for you, then you can be in touch with the reason your body is going through this experience. Naming is the origin of all particular things. This is storytelling. I'm going to tell a story about why I'm crying, and I create that, because that may not be the case at all. I mean, it might be. It might be only part of the case, but if you tell the story, you believe that that's the beginning and end. That's everything. I'm crying because you did this. Okay, well, actually, I'm crying because I feel this way when you did this, because I thought of it. And you're not going to say that. That's not going to actually be your story. Your story is going to be simple, and you're going to be the victim. Right? Like, that's often the case. And this is like, the unnamable is the eternally real. But once you start naming things, you start creating these particulars. So the unnamable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. And all particular things have a beginning and an end, because it's particular. It's in the manifestation. Even time has a beginning and an end. But Tao doesn't, right? And then you can't express that because you can't fathom it. We can't fathom things that don't have a beginning and an end. It's too big for our minds to really be able to grasp. So the next line is interesting because it says, free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestation. And so now it seems to make this kind of shift. And when you've named something, you've limited it to itself, to the way it expresses. You limit anger. Because you can be angry at something and be really excited. But who knows what anger is, really, until we name it. When we name it, we put it in a box and put it somewhere so that we can pick it up when we feel a certain way that might relate to what's in that box. That's all desire. That's desire to express. That's desire to name, desire to understand, desire to control. But when you're free from that, you realize the mystery. Everything. Just like I was talking with David and Melissa and Julie all about the idea that when you can just let things be what they are without having to control them. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestation. Once you're caught in naming, you're caught in separating, you're caught in those boxes of understanding what these words mean. You see only the manifestation. You only see the limits. You only see the edge. Yet mystery and manifestation arise from the same source. It is called darkness. It's the unknown. Mystery and manifestation, no matter what, it's going to come from the unknown. And you either allow it to be unknown and continue to be unknown, or you try and capture it with a word, capture it with a name, and that's not what it is. That's never going to be what it is. I mean, the first line says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. If you call me Martin, yes, I'm Martin as the manifestation and as all of this stuff. But that which I am cannot be understood as this being, as this body, because I'm more than that. And when I die, there will still be me, but Martin will be gone. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. And that's really being like, okay, I don't know. And the result of not knowing is not going to be experiencing and knowing, but moving back into darkness, saying, oh, I understand this, and I'm going to let go of that understanding so I can be in darkness again, so I can not know, so I can be, so I don't have to limit anything. Because when I limit your ability to be you, I limit my ability to be and know myself. And so constantly being open to allowing myself not to know who you are, not to define you, allows me to stay in darkness. And so darkness within darkness. So you stay in darkness, and you stay in this place of not knowing rather than trying to name everything. So that's how I would go through this at this moment. And yeah, how does that, I mean, and I can send this text to you as well, so that you'll have it.
That was great. It does speak to a lot of the things you spoke to others about. I was listening to something, and it was one of the lines in it was something about, you go in the darkness, and then you wait in the darkness for something, and then you go to the light. Right? And then
that's duality, right?
Yeah. No, wait, it goes back, and then you go back to the darkness.
Right.
Because you don't want to know.
Darkness within darkness.
Yeah, and that sort of some of the stuff that I was thinking about too is yesterday you guys were talking about the idea of duality, and you had said duality is hard to let go of. I think the non-dual is what I like about the Tao.
Yeah.
But being aware of places I didn't let go of that duality. And after you said that, I was just thinking, and things start coming in your mind. So, but it's really hard to let go of that duality. And, good and bad, they're just, I might not say those words, but where are you using those ideas? And just thinking about that, but that's what kind of brought me to ask you to do this.
So I'm going to read mine, and with Stephen Mitchell's in mind, I'm going to read mine, and just to show how it's better. Because I still think about things in a dualistic way too sometimes. Yeah. No. So this is expressing Tao. And again, I talk about the experience of Tao. I try not to talk about Tao directly. I talk about how we experience Tao. So words are particular. They cannot express Tao. To have a name is to be limited to manifestation. That which is nameless is the source of manifestation. Self-referential, those who name themselves. And so what that line is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this verse, and purposely. So those who name themselves, meaning that once I identify a tree, once I name a tree, I'm showing out into the world, and I'm expressing out into the world myself, because I was the one that named that tree. Now I also am going to name myself because I'm self-referential, but because this is cyclical, everything that I identify outside of myself names myself. And it identifies me as separate from that. Want to express the depth of the mystery? Stop identifying. Want to experience the shallowness of manifestation? Differentiate. Either way, no one can tell the differences in your experience. It doesn't matter what you do out in the world, whether you identify or don't identify or differentiate or name or don't name. It doesn't matter. You're still Tao. And if you decide to do one or the other, your experience is going to change. But it doesn't matter. It's all stupid.
Now you're back at the beginning where you're talking about not esteeming things.
Right.
Because once you name them, they are
Right.
you're
There's somewhere.
differentiating. Yeah.
Right. There's somewhere on a measuring stick, right? They sit somewhere on this idea of you respect this thing. And then we were talking with creating an other, in conflict with Melissa. And that's like they sit on your continuum. They sit there somewhere as the other. They're not you, right? And they're not, and that's where animosity starts.
Yeah. And with Julie about having, you're dying all the time.
Yeah.
And coming back, and then go back to the beginning again.
That's so good. Well, thanks for having me look at Mitchell. I really enjoy Stephen Mitchell's. He is the one that really really inspired me to be to embrace the Tao Te Ching. It's his translation that really did so much for inspiring me to read the Tao. And I look forward to sharing that with you as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Martin John. If you're interested in connecting, of course, I'm here 6 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. And you can join me anytime. All I do is ask you is to pick a number between 1 and 81 so we can read a little bit of the Tao together. Thank you again for sticking around and listening. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.